Hello, something guys and gals. This is something guy 912. A long time ago, in my youth, attempting to do YouTube poops on this fledgling channel, I was under the impression that, like with most popular YouTubers, that I could make a standard career out of what I was originally doing. How foolish I was to assume that with a basic knowledge of Sony Vegas Pro and a work schedule on YouTube as consistent as a volcanic eruption would I ever get so far. Not only with that, YouTube has this subtle way of lowering the standard of expectation when it comes to quality viewing on their platform. I remember a time when comments, posts, and videos didn't get filtered away to the void that was Google+, as well as comments not being a chore to find, although YouTube brought that back, a comment history tab, something they had 7 fucking years ago. And most importantly, YouTube capitulating to the needs of big corporations, mass flagging videos for copyright infringement, even if said videos fall under fair use. YouTube has never, ever fixed their guilty before proven innocent method of copyright strikes on videos. Any nefarious user that has it out for someone can, with impunity, submit multiple DMCAs on a channel and not face the consequences for doing so. One such example was YouTube poops that I mentioned earlier. Once popular YouTubers like Hector3000 or Dyke have gone through multiple iterations of themselves, either because some YouTuber filed a faulty copyright claim for the lols, or Viacom, one of the biggest offenders of mass false flagging, giving the axe to these prestigious YouTubers. YouTube poops are especially weak to this, considering how often they use clips from movies or TV shows, regardless if they are tweaked in a way that does not infringe upon the original source material. Of course, that never stopped folks like Nintendo or Konami to funnel out all the idolaters. What does this have to do with the current state of affairs of YouTube, now that the soft censorship of ideas through pulling AdSense is now the hot button topic of the day? Some YouTubers, like the infamous Drama Alert or H3H3 for one, are under the impression that the advertisers pulling from YouTube are doing it under false pretense, reading up on WSJ and Daily Mail's hit pieces of popular YouTubers because they are failing in terms of audience retention as compared to the YouTubers they have attacked. This is only half true. As you can tell, Viacom's mass flagging of YouTube videos wasn't just out of trying to get the little guy. While it did subsequently cause casualties along the way, Viacom was actually trying to hit YouTube the hardest. Think about it. Viacom is one of the biggest TV broadcasting companies in the world, owning Disney, Comedy Central, Paramount Pictures, Regal Cinema, and MTV to name a few. Cable TV, much like with old media articles like with CBS, also owned by Viacom, are plummeting in retention, as fresh new mediums like HBO On Demand or Netflix are dominating the field of viewership, including YouTube, ironically enough. If they can intimidate YouTube to take away one of their biggest assets from their platform, that will inevitably give Viacom more power, right? This asset of power through destroying the little guy does not stop with just Viacom, of course. Verizon, for example, also wants to gain back viewership on their platforms, and these old media articles want to gain back credibility as well. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, as they would say. If the MSM make hit pieces on popular YouTubers, advertisers have a reason to pull from YouTube, forcing Google to compromise in order to meet back losses. Advertisers and the MSM win from doing this, regardless if some think that advertisers are only acting as they are to avoid bad publicity. While plenty of more popular YouTubers have explained this, the result of those like Drama Alert or H3H3 not putting the pieces together has resulted in iconoclasts like Harmful Opinions to lay claim that they are jealous somehow of the excess of ad-friendly YouTubers, even though ad-friendly YouTubers have also seen significant loss in ad revenue, the likes of Philip DeFranco and Casey Neistat, for example. This brings me back to my original sentiment from the beginning of this video. Regardless if you think YouTube is a career or not, people still want to make it one. As risque as it is, people are aware that at any time and at any moment, they could lose everything they had sought to create. When people like Angry Joe get 50 or 60 different copyright strikes, and faced with the harsh reality that their passion is being thrown away out of a kangaroo internet court, there are still some who are dismissive of their struggle, insisting that they get a real job. Whenever I hear this, all it sounds like to me is people jealous that someone is making a living doing something they love, a thing that most real jobs don't offer, although granted, at least real jobs do give a consistent salary of sorts. What's even more deplorable than that is that harmful opinions will somehow imply that YouTubers like TJ Kirk or Mr. Dapperton are envious of the success that other ad-friendly YouTubers get, even though not once have I ever heard these two or others who are against this pulling of monetization off videos give the cold shoulder to YouTubers who experienced it to a lesser extent. If anything, I've seen quite a lot of sympathy from bigger names like Sargon of Akkad or Chris Raygun to those who have barely started their personal YouTube career because they try to imagine being in their shoes under an oppressive system that dictates arbitrarily what is acceptable or not. I know, I'm sounding like a social justice warrior here. This antagonism from the likes of harmful opinions and Tildeer almost make me think this is yet another false dichotomy in a slew of false dichotomies, that TJ Kirk or Drama Alert not being in the know about advertisers knowingly being conned into pulling ads is somehow indicative of them trying to get more money, like as if that was any surprise considering that they have YouTube for a living. Or that their fight against the culture war is all a publicity stunt to garnish pity money in the name of envy over others, despite that those who watch TJ Kirk immediately boosts his own Patreon account without asking them to, because they also disagree with the way that YouTube is going about soft censoring others. Granted, I can see where HO and Tildeer are coming from. I just don't necessarily agree with their sentiment that these popular YouTubers fight against the MSM is all in vain. I made the decision a long time ago that I was not going to monetize my videos for two reasons. One, YouTube goes through a variety of changes that make attempting to gain a career out of it too risky, weighing in the benefits compared to the losses. And secondly, I already have a full-time job that pays just considerably enough for me to have a comfy standard of living. Even with that in mind, I can still sympathize with those who are being mistreated as a result of two giants fighting over one another, as the metaphorical David in this scenario is nothing more of a crossfire in the fight. Even if this fight against the soft censorship is taking away the bigger fight against the hard censorship, like with restricted mode and banning keywords, it's still a necessary fight to begin with. As a matter of fact, I'm almost certain that this is going to blow right up in the advertisers' faces in the long term. See, whenever I see a corporation or company act in this manner, I always assume that they are thinking in the short term. They'll get a lot of money back in a relatively short amount of time, but that money will stifle and wane as people catch wind of you being bereft of any amount of credibility, and in the long term become nothing. These advertisers may be able to make some money on moving to MSM's mediums, but the money they could have made from the growing popularity of YouTubers by principle of the mainstream media acting the way that they have will invariably make these companies look back and regret doing so in the first place. There is no telling when or how long this will happen, but we as YouTubers who may or may not make a living out of the thing they love to do should not lobe over the others that perhaps don't have the full story straight. Ironically enough, it reminds me of Tildeer's video about if you don't talk about X, therefore bias, where he was basically summarizing that because someone does not know what someone else did, does not mean that they don't care what that person did. Same goes for this war against the old media, even if this war is as petty as money. Don't attribute a person's motives out of malice, where it could be ruled out as idiocy.